known each other a very long time. You're on, John.
Well, I'm delighted to be here. I don't really have much to add. Sarah gave you the list of bilaterals. Let me just update it a little bit because we're trying to fill every minute of the president's schedule. She said he's going to meet with President Macri, the host government of Argentina. He'll meet with President Moon of South Korea. He'll meet with President Erdogan of Turkey, Prime Minister Abe of Japan. That will transform at some point during that meeting into a trilateral meeting with the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. And then, as Sarah said, the President will meet with President Putin and have a working dinner with President Xi.
There were two questions that were...
Sir, question, sir?
Yeah, right here.
Thank you, sir. Does the President have any plans in the works to meet with the Saudi Crown Prince while he's there?
No, look, the bilateral schedule is full to overflowing at this point, and so those are the ones I've listed that he'll be meeting with. Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Mister.
Yes. I have a question about the border tensions right now with the U.S. and Mexico. The U.S. launched tear gas canisters into Mexican soil, and I'm wondering if you've gotten, if Mexico was given the go-ahead before that happened, and what is the U.S. doing to mitigate any tensions right now with the incoming López Obrador administration?
Yeah. I don't think that's really a subject of the G20, but I can say that Secretary of State Pompeo, who will be attending the G20 and therefore will not be accompanying Vice President Pence to the inauguration on Saturday the 1st, Secretary Pompeo will fly overnight from Argentina to Mexico and will meet with the new Foreign Minister of Mexico on Sunday the 2nd. And they'll have a full conversation about all the issues in connection with the border. Yeah.
What do you expect to be on the agenda for the President's meeting with Putin?
Well, I think all of the issues that we have on security issues, on arms control issues, on regional issues, including the Middle East, I think it'll be a full agenda. I think it'll be a continuation of their discussion in Helsinki.
Ukraine beyond that?
What about Ukraine?
Sure.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Two questions about Brazil, since you are heading there on Thursday to meet with the new incoming president from Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro. One on trade that I know is one of the priorities. For the past few years, Brazil had a trade surplus with Brazil.
United States had a trade surplus.
Just last year, 27 billion alone. And besides of that, President Trump complained about the Brazilian protectionism, say Brazil is one of the toughest on trade access. What should we expect related to trade relationship with Brazil, with the new Brazilian government? Should we expect more cooperation or more tariffs like those on steel and aluminum? And another one on Venezuela that I know is another priority of the meeting. What kind of cooperation are you expecting with the new Brazilian government? Are you guys going to discuss sanctions?
Yeah. Well, the meeting with President-elect Bolsonaro came as a result of President Trump's call on election night in Brazil to congratulate President-elect Bolsonaro. They had a really outstanding phone call, I think developed a personal relationship even remotely. President Trump was the first foreign leader to call President-elect Bolsonaro. So following up on this, we thought it would be useful and certainly very helpful to the United States to hear from the President-elect what his priorities are, what he's looking for in the relationship. From the perspective of the United States, we see this as a historic opportunity for Brazil and the United States to work together in a whole host of areas, economics, security, and a range of others. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what the President-elect's priorities are, try and respond to him, try and tell him a little bit about what President Trump's views are, and hopefully when President-elect Bolsonaro is inaugurated on January the 1st, that the two leaders can really get off to a running start. So I'm just really there to prepare the ground for them.
Ambassador Bolton, you tweeted earlier today about a case involving an American family that's being held in China. Is the president? Have you talked to the president about this case? What is he? If so, what has he told you? And will he bring this up directly at his meeting with Xi Jinping and expect the family to be allowed to leave before any trade deal?
Well, I've discussed the question of American hostages and people wrongfully held with him on a whole range of subjects. I don't want to get into what his reaction was because I don't think those conversations should be public. But this is a matter of real concern to us, and I think given that the range of issues that President Xi and President Trump will be covering, it's entirely possible that that would come up. Yeah.
Thank you. Back to that meeting with President Putin and President Trump. Will President Trump condemn Russia's aggression in Ukraine? Does the U.S. consider it an act of war? And has he spoken with either Putin or Poroshenko about what happened?
Look, Ambassador Haley, in the very estimable position of UN ambassador, spoke for the United States yesterday at the Security Council, and we're going to stand on that statement.
Yeah. Ambassador Bolton, I just had a question about, you mentioned the bilap with the Turkish leader. They've been very critical of the U.S. position back in Saudi Arabia with respect to the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. Are you concerned that that will affect the relations with the U.S. ally? And I wanted to follow up that audio intelligence of the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. Have you heard that tape? And does it conclusively point to the Crown Prince as ordering the killing of Jamal Khashoggi? And one final one. The briefing.
I suppose you remember all these?
I'll prompt you.
Thank you.
And finally, is it true the White House is blocking Gina Haspel from speaking to senators about that audio intelligence on Wednesday?
So let me take the question of the tape first. No, I haven't listened to it. And I guess I should ask you, why do you think I should? What do you think I'll learn from it?
Well, you're the National Security Advisor. You might have access to that sort of intelligence.
Yeah. How many in this room speak Arabic?
You don't have access to an interpreter?
Well, you want me to listen to it? What am I going to learn from? I mean, if they were speaking Korean, I wouldn't learn any more from it either.
The interpreter would be able to tell you what's going on.
Then I can read a transcript too.
Okay, so you don't think it's important to hear that as the National Security Advisor?
I'm just trying to make the point that everybody who says, why don't you listen to the tape, unless you speak Arabic, what are you going to get from it?
The President?
Really? The president has spoken to our position on this issue. He's spoken very clearly, and that is our position. Now, tell me the other questions.
Gina Haspel from sharing information with members of Congress.
Go back here in the back.
Mr. Bolton, could you go back to
the man in the back?
Okay, so the Argentinian authority captured two Hezbollah suspects last week. And Brazil probably is going to follow the American footsteps and blacklist Hezbollah also on terrorist list. And also, Hezbollah is replying for the sanctions, the last sanctions, by blocking the formation of the new government. It's a quotation from Saad al-Hariri. So how do you put all this together? Is it going to be discussed in the G20 summit, Iran and Hezbollah influencing the region?
Well, I expect in the bilateral meetings, depending on the country, that there will be substantial conversation about counterterrorism efforts where we participate together. That's certainly something that may well come up in Brazil with President-elect Bolsonaro, and I think it's one of President Trump's biggest priorities to extend cooperation against terrorism, whether it's Hezbollah or Hamas or others. So entirely likely it could be a subject. Yes, ma'am.
Ambassador, going back to the Khashoggi issue, being informed about an issue is part of, I guess, what is in the scope of national security.
We try to be.
Right, okay. But in the midst of it, why not, I'm going to go back to that question again, sir. Why not get a translator to understand, to hear what happened? You could find out a little bit more than what they've told you by
People who speak Arabic have listened to the tape, and they have given us the substance of what's in it.
And you trust those who've given you...
I don't speak Arabic.
I know, but a translator, you could hear the emotion, and a translator could help you understand what happened at that time to relate to the President of the United States and to convey to the world what happened.
I'm very satisfied that we know what the tape picked up, and it was factored into the President's decision, and he's announced his position very clearly.
As economic security is national security, I think this should be in your lane.
I was going to defer to Larry, but it's...
Let me see if I can keep it in your lane if I could. The talks with China have been marked with intransigence and disappointment. Larry was talking about that at late this morning. This idea of some sense of optimism going into this Saturday night dinner with Xi, is it based on any notion that Xi is going to suddenly say, this idea of intellectual property theft and forced technology transfer, protectionist tariffs? I don't know what we were thinking. It was a bad idea. Let's level the playing field and start anew.
Well, I think President Trump has developed a very positive relationship with President Xi. They've met, they've spoken over the phone. Obviously, both leaders carry into any discussion like this their national interest. And I think it's instructive, and I think the Chinese side believes the same thing, to have the two leaders exchange their views in the presence of their senior advisors, and not with the expectation that at this meeting there'll be some substantial agreement coming out of it, but that there would be an indication, a kind of way ahead that the advisors could then pursue. And I see Sarah is so eager to be here to answer your questions.
Mr. Fellow deferred.
I was going to give him one more, but...
Mr. Fellow deferred a question to him. Could he answer the question that was deferred to him, please? Mr. Bolton. He is Bolton.
I think he's already gone.